Friends, before we get started, just a reminder that Clutter Free Academy is listener supported. And what that means is that there are people sitting in their cars, doing the dishes, folding the laundry, who are listening to this podcast just like you, who have decided that they would like to partner with us. And so for $5 a month, or maybe it's a one-time gift, whatever works for you, by you partnering with us in that way, we continue to bring the best guests, the best resources, the things to help you live that clutter-free life you've always wanted to live. So if you would like to partner with us, you can go to Kathi.link/coffee. That's KATHI.link/coffee. We'll also have that in the show notes because we want to continue this podcast and we want to continue it with people who believe in it just like you. Okay, on with the show. Well, hey friends, welcome to Clutter Free Academy, where our goal is to help you take small, doable steps to live every day with less clutter and more life. Friends, if your mornings feel rushed, foggy, and overwhelmed before your feet even hit the floor, this episode is so for you. I've got one of my very favorite human beings, Jennifer Lee, and she wrote a book on mornings, literally. She wrote the book on mornings, literally. And she's here to tell overwhelmed women that they are not the problem. Jennifer is a best-selling author, speaker, and morning evangelist from Iowa. She is the author of several books, and we've had her on the podcast for many of these. We'll go ahead and link those in the show notes. Including today's How to Love Your Morning, Growing Slow, one of my personal favorites. It's all under control and stuff I'd only tell God. She wants to live her life in such a way that you can't help but want more of Jesus. Jennifer, welcome back to the program.
Wow, that many times. You keep making space for me. I'm so grateful.
Okay, there's always a place for you. In fact, anytime that you want to come on and just talk, because you and I could talk for, I don't know, an hour and a half without much space in between, we'll just record it for the podcast and we'll call it good. All right.
I'm down.
Okay, so here's what I want to talk about today. What morning rituals can actually look like when life is a lot. How even 5 minutes can change the tone of your whole day, and what your morning has to do with the clutter in your home. So I want to ask you, I think about my listener, and first of all, cluttery women are the most generous, giving, amazing human beings on the planet. But I know that they feel behind before their feet even hit the floor. Their to-do list is waiting. The house is a mess. And the idea of a morning routine feels like something that a more organized version of themselves could actually do. So I know what that overwhelmed woman's morning feels like. Why does it make complete sense to you that she's struggling?
Because we all are. I mean, I just don't know a person that has gone through life with perfect circumstances every morning. I think back through the mornings of my life and I see whole seasons of difficult mornings, and I'm a self-described morning person.
Yeah.
I remember in high school and college, like just feeling constantly tired. And sometimes it was my own fault. Like I was out too late at night in establishments with neon lights and cheap drink specials. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then, when I got into career mode, I left that behind, but I was like, as soon as my feet hit the floor, like the first thought on my mind wasn't God. It's like, oh my goodness, I've got all these deadlines and I have all this responsibility. Right. Then I move into this space of young motherhood, and I'm like, what even is a quiet time? Like my quiet time is anything but quiet. And, just so on and on and on it goes. And then you get a little bit older and all of a sudden you're dealing with teenage angst at the same time. You've got aging parents who need you and you feel frazzled and torn. And I've gotten to the point in my life where I decided that I cannot wait for perfect conditions to decide to start my day out right. Like, I
Right.
need to do that immediately. I need to like do it every day. I mean, there's some days where I just have to sort of shrink it down to fit my real life, but I have got to every day meet God at the front of my day. And then when I do that, the rest of the day has to automatically level up to meet God. I
Mm.
mean, there's a lot of things that we could unpack here about certainly about the clutter and the clutter of the mind. But
Hmm.
what I really want to express here is that morning gives us this incredible opportunity to set our daily intentions and expectations around the heart of God. And then for the
Hmm.
remainder of the day, the very best things that happen to you, you know that those are not by chance, those are by God because you've already talked to Him that morning. And furthermore, like the really bad things that come in a day, they're in a way made more bearable
Yeah.
because that morning you already assured yourself of God's presence, His protection, His provision, His promises, come what may. So I think the message here that I'm trying to convey to people who have who have kind of difficult mornings on repeat, is that the
Right.
whole message is not work toward having a perfect morning. The message really is meet God in the first moments and know that He is meeting you no matter what mess is around you, either externally or internally.
I love this because I feel like we have been told by society, by the church, that if you would just start your morning right, then the rest of your day will go better. But we also like I love that what you're saying there, that our mornings don't always look doable.
Mm-hmm.
We had a bear going through our garbage at 2:30 this morning. And it was like that was not conducive to our sleep because our 9-pound chihuahua was trying to make sure that the bear knew that that was her garbage can. Like we go through we think that everybody starts off the same, like everybody has these perfect morning routines, and if we could just do that, then our lives would be as easy as everybody else's. And what you're saying is no, like life is messy for everybody. But if you can just reserve a little bit at the beginning, at the beginning. And I think when we get into that routine where we don't have to decide to spend our time with God, but we've already made that decision just by the patterns in our lives,
Mm-hmm.
it makes a huge difference. I'm sure that you have talked to a lot of people that just hate mornings.
Mm-hmm.
That, oh, this is cute, Jen. This is really cute. But this book is for morning people. But you're saying even those of us, and by the way, when I was growing up, my mom stood in line overnight for kindergarten. So I would be in the late bird group because she could not imagine trying to get me out of bed, before, even around 7 o'clock. I am now a morning person, and that's been a whole transition for me. But there are lots of great people, wonderful people who are not morning people. And so, how do they get the benefits? How do they start to get the benefits of a designed morning when
Mm-hmm.
this is their biggest struggle time?
Well, first of all, it starts with a really important distinction. And I know this is going to sound really odd to some people, but actually, everybody is a morning person.
Wait, 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 wait. I had a couple of kids that I would disagree with you on that. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, so we have chronotypes, and those
Okay.
chronotypes are about what time we go to bed and what time we wake up. So if you go to bed like after 10:30, you're technically a night owl. If you get up
Mm.
before 6:30, you're technically an early bird. But you can actually be a night owl and a morning person. Morning
Oh.
person isn't just reserved for those people who wake up at a certain time and accomplish all
Hmm.
kinds of things before 7 and then, iron their bed sheets. Morning people are actually people who get up at whatever time they get up
Hmm.
and decide that I'm going to live this day with hope and intention. It is
Mm.
not a clock thing. It is a God
Okay.
thing. And it's
Okay.
really important to start there as you design your morning to say, I am a morning person. And I just think that we do this huge disservice to ourselves when we let those chronotypes, early bird
Mm,
versus night owl, drive our mornings, because how you name yourself shapes how you live. So if you
mm,
see yourself as, I'm just not a morning person, I'm a non-morning person, you'll always enter the day defeated before you
hmm
begin. But when you begin to believe that you are a morning person, you're not just claiming a label, you are setting the trajectory for how you live the rest of the day. It is
mm,
deciding, this is how I want to wake up. I want to wake up that no matter the mess, I am going to open my hands and say, God, this day is yours. I'm going to wake up and believe that God is telling the truth when he says that his mercies are new every single morning. I'm going to wake up believing that God is telling the truth when he says in the Psalms that weeping may last for the night, but joy comes in the morning. So that can be true for us if we wake up at
yeah,
5 a.m. or 10 a.m. And it's not about the beginning of the day, of
hmm
everybody's day. It's about the beginning of your day and how you are going to begin. And I think that's what I see as this book is making its way out into the world. I think that is what I see people changing the way, because we have this idea culturally of what a morning person is, because if you're on
yeah,
TikTok or Instagram and you see morning routines and morning people, it's like, well, good for them, but that's not possible for me.
right.
So I really just want to just have that be the start of designing your morning, to say, I actually studied all 200 plus mornings in scripture to prepare for this book. And what I
Yeah.
discovered is that God is a morning person.
hmm
And because we are made in his image, that means
hmm
that we are too.
There is something powerful about claiming that you're a morning person. There is something powerful in that. And I think what you're saying there is so true because God talks about mornings a lot,
Mm-hmm.
a lot. Well, 200 times, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what do you feel like is the most surprising thing that God has to say about mornings?
Oh, man. Um, I think there are, well, the most surprising thing that I discovered, well, one of the most surprising things I discovered was that the very first thing that God created on this earth was a morning, when he
Oh,
said, let there be light. And
yeah.
then on it goes. Evening came and morning came the next day. And there's this whole cycle that everything is built on. And then, we go through the scriptures and we see God providing for people in really unexpected ways. Like in the morning, they wake up and what's on the ground? Breakfast. It's like manna on the ground. We see
Mm,
people being obedient to God's command in the morning. Think about Abraham early in the morning going out with his son Isaac, or Moses early in the morning going up to Mount Sinai. Like these were not easy tasks, but they
right.
did it immediately. They were
hmm
obedient to God immediately. These were not beautiful mornings. They were very difficult mornings that asked a lot of them. But
hmm
Abraham and Moses and David and Abimelech and Nehemiah, they got to work. They did the thing that was really, really hard. They did not
Yeah.
procrastinate. They did not hit snooze. They went after it. And I think that's really cool. Like God loves talking to people in the morning. I think
hmm
about, Jacob, like, has this dream in the night and he wakes up and he says, surely the presence of the Lord was in this place. I mean, what a beautiful way to wake up. Like that's
Yes.
available to us too.
Yes.
Even in the hard things. The
Yeah.
hardest morning that ever happened on this whole earth, ever in the history of the earth, happened on a morning. It
Yeah.
was 9 a.m. on a Friday morning
hmm
when Jesus was crucified. So I
Right.
think that is it. Like there is this, the thing that surprises me again and again is that not all the mornings were easy, but God was present
No.
in them.
Yes. And, friends, as all of you know, I'm on this long COVID journey, and
Mm-hmm.
I have never understood the idea of a new portion every morning as I have through long COVID.
Yeah.
Because by the time I get to 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I am just done. but there's restoration overnight, and there's a new place to be. There's a new energy. There's a clearer mind. And all of that is available because of the work that's being done overnight to restore and replenish. And it's such a gift. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, I want to talk about if we are overwhelmed, maybe we're in a hard season of life. How do you start with the smallest possible ritual? How do you start with the smallest possible routine? Because I know Jennifer believes that even a small routine can be the place to start. So we're going to come right back. So my overwhelmed friends, keep listening. We've got something for you. Friends, if you are not getting our newsletter, I would really encourage you to go sign up. You can go to Kathi.link/CFA news. That's Clutter Free Academy News. And we'll put the link in our show notes because we discuss everything that's going on in here in the podcast. We offer resources. We've got links for you. We've got all those freebies that you guys love that can really make a change in your day. So Kathi.link.CFA news. It's a free newsletter. It comes once a week, and we want to show up in your mailbox to serve you. Okay. So my favorite friends out there, many of them are drowning right now. They are what you exactly talked about. They have teenagers in the home or maybe adult children. They're also taking care of older family members. They're working, they're taking care of their home. And they're like, I do not have time for a ritual. Are you kidding me? That's for fancy people who have help. And so where can somebody start? Where can they actually just start? Even if I'm thinking 10 minutes, but some of them are like, I'll give you 5. I'll give you 5. Where can they start?
I'm going to share a starting point by way of a story. I'm a storyteller by heart. And before the break, you had mentioned that people are overwhelmed. And that is the word of the day. That's so common. That is a point in the day where we really truly feel overwhelmed, is right away in the morning. My dad was a big fan of that word. And I know it's weird to think that somebody would be a fan of the word overwhelmed, but he didn't use it in the same way that we do. He used it to describe the best things in life, like beautiful things, rapturous things, like sunsets, mountain views. I remember being in Ireland at the Cliffs of Moher, and he said, "Oh, this is overwhelming." He loved the word for Dairy Queen Snickers Blizzards. Dairy Queen Snickers Blizzards were indeed overwhelming.
Oh, I've never had one, but I am just overwhelmed by the thought of it. I really am.
And so, generally speaking, overwhelmed is a word that we use to describe hard days, hard mornings. It's when life is just too much. And over again, I've used the word that way. That's just what it is. Well, overwhelm is a contronym, and a contronym is a literary term that means that a single word in the English language can have 2 contradictory meanings. So in this case, overwhelming in a bad way or overwhelming in a good way.
Yes.
And I know you and I are word nerds, so we probably are geeking out on that fact. But Dad,
I love that.
My dad, it was an overwhelming season. Dad had congestive heart failure, and he was just in a lot of pain. It was a difficult time in our lives. And 6 days before he passed away, I was sitting on his bed beside him, and he was looking up at a corner of the room, and he said, "It's overwhelming." And I said, "Dad, is it overwhelming in a bad way or overwhelming in a good way?" Because Dad had every right to say overwhelming in a bad way.
Yeah.
Life on hospice is no picnic.
No.
But Dad responded, "It's overwhelming in a good way." And right then his smile stretched across his face. It was like the sun could rise and set on his countenance. It was just so beautiful. And, I don't know what Dad was thinking that day or what he was pondering, but in my way of thinking, my Heavenly Father was giving my earthly father a sense of what was to come.
Mhm.
like a little bit of heaven on earth, a reminder that when life on earth is overwhelming in a bad way, which it often
Mhm.
is, that God is overwhelmingly loving, overwhelmingly
Mm.
kind, overwhelmingly holy, overwhelmingly present. And that's what we can do as well. We can actively choose every day to trade the bad overwhelm for the good overwhelm. It doesn't mean
Mhm.
ignoring the difficult things in our lives, but it is a way of, I mean, I guess what most of us would call gratitude,
Yeah.
being grateful, seeing each day as yet another gift from God. There are moments when I wake up and I'm just like, another day. And maybe that comes too with
Mhm.
age. Like, I've lost a lot of friends along the way. I'm in my
Yeah.
50s and I still, I think, oh, I've got all these years. But every day you get to the point where you're like, every day is a
Yeah.
gift. And
Yes.
these aren't perfect days. They are overwhelming days.
Mm.
But to decide,
Yeah.
maybe it is saying something like Mother Teresa used to tell people to say, "Good morning, Jesus," before anything else. And that's something
Mm.
that you can do not in 10 minutes, not in 5 minutes, but like in 5 seconds. That the
Right.
first things out of your mouth, that the first thought out of your mind is to greet our Lord and Savior. What a gift. Overwhelming, overwhelmingly good, indeed, in the
Yeah.
best way possible. So that's where I would start.
So a simple prayer is the first place you would start. And here's how I want to translate that for our clutter-free people. You've heard me talk about how one of the most overwhelming things we can have in our lives in a bad way is choice. When you have too many choices, you feel split in different directions. But if you start with a simple morning ritual of the first thing I'm going to do is talk to God. That that takes one of those choices away and sets you down a path where you are able to, it's not just about taking that choice away. It's saying, I'm going to start my day in the very best way. I
Hmm.
wake up just a few minutes before Roger. And of course, one of my favorite morning rituals is kissing him and asking him how his night was, et cetera, et cetera. And then Moose jumping in the middle of all that. And it's my favorite. But even before that, just having a moment to talk to God, it's before my eyes even open,
Hmm.
but to be there with Jesus to start the morning. And so if you can start to build a couple of those rituals on top of each other, and the first 5-10 minutes, all things that bring you joy, the problems will still be there, friends. The problems will still be there, and they're still coming at you. But can you reserve the first few moments for you and for Jesus?
Hmm.
um Jen, I how does a cat, well, no, that's not what I wanted to ask you. I wanted to talk to you about the night before.
Hmm.
That's what I want to talk to you about, because I have learned that if I want to have peace in my morning, so much of it is about the night before and what decisions I'm making the night before that are going to impact my morning. What are a few key things that we should be thinking about the night before that are going to set us up for a more peaceful, joyful morning?
I am so glad you asked this, because a huge reason that a lot of us don't see ourselves as morning people is because we're just really tired.
Yeah.
We're not getting the sleep that we need.
Mm,
And some
yeah.
of that's not even really our fault. Like
Mhm.
pre-industrial revolution, we were getting 3 more hours of sleep a night than we do on average now.
Holy cow.
I know people think it's like the mobile phone, but it's really like artificial light and industrial revolution that impacted. So we have to be very intentional
Yeah.
about knowing that the best mornings actually do begin the night before. One huge thing is not to participate in what's called revenge bedtime procrastination. So,
Tell me more about that.
okay. So, revenge bedtime procrastination this is a name for something. It's so common. It's when people put off sleep, they scroll or binge watch
Mhm.
a show, and it's a way to decompress at the end of a long day. For
Right.
anybody who's a caregiver or just busy all day long, it's seen as a way to reward yourself with a little bit of me
Mm-hmm.
time.
Yeah.
So, that I think that we find ourselves then the next morning saying, well, mornings are hard. Well, maybe there was a bit of revenge bedtime procrastination going on the night before.
Yeah, because I've earned it, by the way. I have
Yes,
earned it. So
that's right.
what can we do in order
Mhm.
to reward ourselves for a really busy day? Like
Go to
what are the
sleep.
alternatives? What?
Go to sleep.
Go
That
to
is a
sleep.
reward. The
Yes.
Psalms say that God grants sleep to those he loves. He sees that as a
Mm,
gift. Now, I don't say those verses for those of you who have insomnia or like getting to bed is really hard. It's not that he
right.
gives sleep only to certain people, and those are the ones he loves. But what
Yeah.
it says to me that when I read the verse, God grants sleep to those he loves, is it's a priority. He made us, as you mentioned earlier, like lots of things are happening in our bodies to repair cells and to refresh us and to give us
Yeah.
the energy that we need. So that is a way of giving yourself some me time. But
Mm,
if it's maybe it doesn't feel as satisfying as one more of your favorite Netflix shows, and I get
right.
that. But I think it would be if you just like give it a go, like decide this is how
Mm-hmm.
much sleep I need and set an alarm for this is when I start to get ready for bed. And it doesn't
Yes.
mean that you have to give up everything, but maybe it just means you don't do like the extra show, the extra scroll.
Right.
Like give yourself something fun to do that's a part of your nightly routine, even if it involves screens. But at some point, at a reasonable time, to set those devices aside, to turn those screens off, to create for yourself an evening ritual. And maybe that is to turn off the overhead lights, turn on
Mm-hmm.
ambient lighting, to have soft music, to allow yourself the opportunity in it. If you really feel like you want to have something entertaining or a little me time, make it a book instead of something on a screen. It's just better for that. All that LED light is really just messing things up for people in their sleep. And I think even maybe pick a more boring book because you might then get a little bit more tired and want to get to bed.
Right.
But just make that, making that a non-negotiable is a form of me time because it's going to help your next day go a lot more smoothly.
Jennifer, this has been such an excellent discussion. And guys, as you guys know, I'm taking a big trip here pretty soon. And this is the book that I'm going to be diving even deeper into than I already have. How to Love Your Mornings, Faith-Filled Habits to Build a Life of Joy and Purpose One Day at a Time. It's Jennifer Dukesley. Jennifer, thank you for sacrificing part of your morning to be on the podcast. I'm so grateful for you.
An absolute joy. I would make this part of my daily morning ritual if I could, talking to Kathi
Ah,
Lip.
you know what? Hey, I'm going to take you up on that. And friends, thank you for taking us up on being here at Clutter Free Academy. I just am so grateful to you. I'll have some resources in the show notes. And friends, as always, you've been listening to Clutter Free Academy. I'm Kathi Lip. Now, go live the clutter-free life you were always designed to live.